Can we do one twinkle? Twinkle? So that's just shine. Is that it, eh? So poor old Chloe, it was easy to drift into the shape of a moon, and as soon as he was ready to shine, he tried and he tried. But poor old Chloe couldn't shine. He still just drifted slowly along as before. Excellent. Perhaps I can be a bird. They have such fun. Who can do a tweet for me? Excellent, nice. Thought poor old little Chloe as he watched the birds flitting here and there in the warm sun. And guess what he did? It was easy to drift into the shape of a bird, and soon the little cloud was ready to fly. He tried and he tried. But poor old Chloe couldn't fly, flit or soar. He still drifted slowly along as before. Oh, you are such good clouds. Goodness. I must be here for a reason, moaned the little cloud Chloe. If only I can find the right season. Could it be winter? Could it be winter? A jolly snowman, perhaps? I'll try, he said, and try he did. It was easy to drift into the shape of a snowman, but the sad little cloud didn't have a hat, scarf, or gloves. Could it be spring? With kites that fly so high, I'll try, he said, and try he did. It was easy to drift into the shape of a kite, but alas, he had no string. No string. It's no use, moaned the cloud, trying to hold back the tears. I'll never do anything but drift, drift, and drift. And with that, he began to cry. He cried little tears, big tears, fat tears, thin tears. He cried lots and lots. Okay, now you need to cry with me, eh? I think that's how he cried. I'll come to you now. And much to his surprise, wonderful things began to happen down below as the little cloud Chloe cried. The bare brown earth became green with soft grass. The bare brown trees were soon covered with cool green leaves and flowers. Beautiful, beautiful flowers opened their blossoms as they drank the cool, refreshing raindrops from Chloe. That's what I'm here for. That's what I can do, exclaimed Chloe. I can make the whole place a wonderful world to live in. No longer was the little cloud sad as he drifted in the sky. He smiled and cried for the lovely world down below. What an awesome story about a little cloud. And before you lots all go off to Sunday school, just remember that we need to find out what we are actually here for. We don't need to be trying to do what everyone else is trying to do, but do and be exactly what God has made and called you to be and do. Okay, you can answer your question in your Sunday school. Kids, you can go out, and then I can carry on with the kids. With the big kids, sorry. So you can all head out. I hope, oh yes.
And then he came a rainy cloud.
He became a rainy cloud, yes. I'm going to have to add that part into my whole story. This rainy cloud that it created. Today, I'd really like to be able to just talk about being created for a purpose. And the story may be for kids, but actually it's great for us because the truth of it hits so close to home. That sometimes, many a time, maybe we, sitting right here, questioned, asked, wondered, pondered, and perhaps are still in that state of saying, what on earth am I here for? Maybe even you're saying, but all that I am is just a little cloud. I'm not even a star, nothing special. But you are created with a purpose. And so while it's a great story, great for kids, it is very true. The sad reality, especially for us, the bigger kids here, the sad reality for us, that in order for us to find and to do and be active in our actual purpose that God has designed us for, we are so often held back by so many things that people tell us that we are, tell us that we can't do this. Sometimes we tell ourselves, this is not for you. You're just a cloud. And so many a times, we find that we are caught by labels. Things that other people put onto us, things that we put onto ourselves, which most times are actually just preventing us from doing and being what we are created to be. And so sadly, we are not living out our true purpose that God has designed us to do. So today I want to be able to talk about 4 people. The sum total of my message is just to talk about 4 people. And as we look at these 4 people, I want us to be able to just have a look at what it really is about living your purpose. His purpose. Living his purpose. Or are you going to walk out of here and believe the labels that we place on ourselves? And we're good at that. Can't do this because of this. So living your purpose versus believing the label. The first person I want to be able to talk about is Gideon. He is our first guy. And if you know anything about Gideon, he was small, insignificant. I'm sure that he actually questioned himself. He actually second-guessed himself, saying, I can't do anything. I'm just a banana, and I'm really insignificant. Insignificant. And hence his label, the least. The least. And when we come to see Gideon in this part of his story, in fact, he is in hiding. And we know the story when Gideon is there threshing wheat in a wine press, and he is in hiding. Why? Because he's the least. Insignificant, small. Nothing to do with me. to give this poor guy some credits, I sort of understand where he's coming from, because actually the Midianites were giving these poor Israelites stick. They were horrific in the way that they were treating them. Starvation was definitely part of the whole game. And so that when the Israelites would plant some crops, the Midianites would come, destroy all the crops. And so food was a major crisis. Hence, poor old Gideon here is hiding, thrashing some wheat, and trying to sort out some food. And in the midst of him hiding, an angel appears. My little mind says, I wonder how that happened. Poof! An angel! Or did he suddenly creep in? And next minute Gideon looked around. There's an angel! I don't know. But an angel appeared to Gideon right there while he was hiding. He thought that he was invisible to the world. Invisible. But God knew where Gideon was. In Judges chapter 6, here's the verse where we come into Gideon's story. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, not least Gideon, not you small, insignificant Gideon. The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." If you were known as the least, you knew yourself to be the least. Can you imagine how funny that must have been? For an angel to appear and for the angel to say, mighty warrior. But it is in the midst of that the angel calls him mighty warrior. Verse 15, just after this, Gideon replies back to the angel. And he says, verse 15, I am the least tribe, the least family, and the least in my family. I am, what he was actually saying is, I am the lowest of the low of the low. I am that insignificant. Almost illustrates it a little bit, because just after that, he was told to go and destroy all the idols. And he still is this little bit of a skabanga. He's still scared. He's still scared of who he is the least. And so he goes and does it at nighttime. Again, I'd say, understandable, eh? He's so scared about what he's about to do. But even on top of that, because he sees himself as the least. We know the story. And this is where the super cool part of this story comes in. So he summons the people. And they need to go to war. But even in the midst of this moment, he does the fleece. He is still not sure of himself being mighty warrior. What the angel spoke to him of. He still saw this label, least. But he calls all the people together. He gets 32,000 strong army to go and defeat the Midianites. 32,000! That's a hang of a lot of people. And yet he goes, and God tells him, we know the story, God tells him, take 300. And he defeats them with 300. Talk about a convincing thing of mighty warrior. I, as God, will empower you. Wow. With 300 people. As we look at our 4 people with Gideon, maybe there are some of us right over here that are actually saying, I feel I feel many a time as the least, as the smallest, as I can't do anything. That insignificant. Created for a purpose. And number 2, which I'd like to talk about, is Elisha's servant. His label is afraid. He was afraid. If you've ever read the story, 2 Kings chapter 6, this is an amazing story. It could actually be made into a movie. It's a spy story waiting to happen. I don't know about you, but I love spy stories. And so this just goes right up my alley. It's about the king of Aram. And the king of Aram was coming to be able to sort out Israel at this point. And God tells Elisha, he would tell Elisha the different things of the plots that this king of Aram was about to do. King of Aram would be able to say, hey, we're going to go and attack over there. And God would tell Elisha, sure, don't worry, tell the king of Israel, they're going to be over there. And guess what? They were. And they were able to wipe them out. This made the king of Aram so frustrated, he called these guys and he says, hey, who's double-crossing me here? Who's the jolly rat that's telling the Israelites what's actually going on over here? They said, King, it's none of us. But it is Elisha. And so it was Elisha. They even said to the king, King, Elisha can even tell the people what you've been saying in the bedroom. And this was shocking for the poor old king. And so what happened? The king finally says, hey, find out where this Elisha guy is. And so they do. They find him, and they take a big army, and they surround the town. And this poor old servant comes out in the morning. He opens up the windows, and all he sees is chariots and horses. He says, we are doomed, afraid. Everywhere, that's all that he saw. And at this point, we come to this verse, where the prophet comes and stands next to his servant, and he says, don't be afraid, the prophet said. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. And Elisha prayed, open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see. Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. Wow. This was a different story. And so what Elisha was actually saying to his servant, don't be scared. Don't be afraid. There are more with us. Let me pray and you will see. Open his eyes. Can you imagine seeing chariots and horses of fire? But wait, the spy story doesn't stop there. There's more. What happens? Elisha asks the Lord to blind them. Poof. Their whole army suddenly is blind. And they lead this army off. Incredible story. While they are blind, leads them off to Samaria. The king of Israel says, we've got them all here. Let's slaughter them all. Elisha says, no. Make them food. Make them supper. And send them home. As much as for Gideon, maybe there are some of us sitting right here that are afraid, scared of whatever it is, afraid of what's happening in the country, afraid of what's happening in your family, afraid of what's happening for your job, scared and afraid. How can we be coming to this place of being created for a purpose when we're afraid? Our third person is David. And in 1 Samuel, we see David comes across a really big guy, Goliath. And so he has this big moment with Goliath. But first, David comes into the army camp, and everyone, the big main money that counts for the army, for the country, are all there camped out, and they don't move because Goliath has them all entrapped in this deal. What does David do? He says, I'll take him on. When he said that in the camp, they must have laughed at him. Come on, little David. You must be crazy. They put the armor onto David, and he can't even walk, so he just goes out as he is with his little sling. And suddenly, this huge man on the middle of the battlefield sees little David coming along. And this is the interaction that they have. He looked David over and saw that he was little more than a boy. Glowing with health and handsome. Probably a little bit embarrassed, a little bit, wish I could be that. And he despised him. So our third person, created for a purpose, but being despised. You're only a young boy. People look down on little David. Only a little boy. What does David turn around and say back? Whether it was to Goliath or inside of himself, he says, I come in the name of the Lord, and I will strike you down. That's what he comes to say. It's amazing to be able to look at David's life. Actually, he was anointed as king 3 times in his life. This little boy who was despised, anointed 3 times. Even when Samuel came to anoint him, Samuel asked, surely, don't you have any other sons? We can't be looking at the shepherd boy, despised, looked down upon. And it was 15 years after he was anointed that he became king. 15 years that he became king. This little boy was despised. Sometimes our purpose takes years to get the picture complete. 15 years. But I wonder, are there people that are sitting right here that are feeling despised? So you talk about created for a purpose. How can I fulfill my purpose when I feel despised? Whether it be within myself, or whether it's others that are looking down at me for whatever reason. The fourth person that I want to talk about is you. You. Created for a purpose. What is your label that people are putting onto you? Or what is the label that you put on yourself that is reducing you, limiting you from coming to this place of being created for a purpose. Maybe for you, you even sit here and you say, you daren't dream anymore. You can't dream. Don't talk about a purpose for my life. I simply exist day after day. I don't know when last I've dreamt about my life. What is your label? And are you believing that label right here? Is that label holding you back? Is it the least? Is it fear? Is it despised? Or something else? That you are being held back. So God comes here to us, and I think He wants to give us who and how He really sees us. And I want to talk on Ephesians here briefly as we wrap up. Ephesians chapter 2, where God sees us as a masterpiece. In the midst of us thinking that we aren't able to complete our purpose, He sees us as a masterpiece. Here's our verse, as much as our other three guys. Here's our verse. God saved you by His grace when you believed, and you can't take credit for this. It is a gift from God. Salvation is not a reward for the good things we have done, so none of us can boast about it. Verse 10, for we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew for Christ Jesus, so we can do the good things He planned for us long ago. If we're talking about Holiday Bible Club, this was their verse a couple years ago that we implanted onto our kids. But how many of us see ourselves as a masterpiece? Perhaps I even need to ask, what is a masterpiece? Maybe for some of us we see a beautiful painting. Was this Leonardo DiCaprio's beautiful the other Leonardo? Was this his masterpiece? And he looked at it and said, oh, yeah, no, this is it. I don't think he had a voice like that either. But was this his masterpiece? Spend time putting each little blob of paint in the right place. Maybe for some of us, baking a cake. And you finish with this and you're icing it so beautifully and you make those little roses. I don't know how they stick together. Do you spit on them? And they make, you put that rose on the back there and you stand back and you say, wow, this cake is a masterpiece. Maybe not all the boys bake cakes, so maybe your Bucky is your masterpiece. Man, my Bucky's got beautiful tires. I've put on a snorkel. I've done everything, and it is a masterpiece. Maybe music can be seen as a masterpiece. Maybe your business, maybe your job. Wow, look at how beautiful my masterpiece. And Jesus comes and He says, you are my masterpiece. We could, there it is. We could definitely be saying and referring back to Psalm 139, which Jason has been talking in our series before he went on leave. But how Jesus comes and He takes us and He makes us and He molds us. First, He just makes us into this physical body that He says, even though you've got a pimple over here and a splodge over there, and maybe you're going bald, or whatever, you've got a little bit of a bulge over here, I've made you perfect, physically perfect. No, Ashley doesn't have a bulge, not like mine. But slowly, and actually I even see that there's a little clippy inside this. He comes and He molds us like clay. And so He makes us into this masterpiece. takes us like clay. And so it's God like a potter, taking out little chips, taking out little things so that he can make us into this masterpiece as much as us painting, sorting out our 4x4, whatever it may be. But we were made for such a time as this. God's masterpiece. But apart from just making us and putting us together, I think that there's more in this over here. The verse carries on, for you are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew. A new creation. In fact, our chains, the things that have been holding us back, the sins and stuff and the gunk in our life are taken off. 2 Corinthians talks about it and says, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, and the new is here. When you come to Christ, ask him to take away your sins, come into this relationship, you become a new creation. His masterpiece. Tara and I were talking, we're saying, perhaps it's almost a new modern way to be able to think of it is like our cell phones. By the end of your contract, I don't know about your phone, but the back is solidly scratched. My screen is so cracked that I battle to see the numbers. Joshua, I've seen yours as well. Sure, I don't know how the buttons work. And then you go to the shop and they open that box. It almost has it sucks into that box so nicely. And they give you your new phone. A new creation. There's no blemish, no cracked screen. All the apps work perfectly. I can start taking photos again because the thing is not full. It's just amazing. And so he has made us into this new. But it's not just that. When we're talking about being created for a purpose, what is it then? What have we been? Why are we this masterpiece? What have we been created anew for? And the verse carries on. It says, so we can do the good things he has planned. We are not just created like this to be put on the shelf. Woohoo! This is nice. I can be on the shelf. I'm ready for heaven now. I've got my ticket and I can just sit here. No. We've missed it if that's what we think it is all about. And so my challenge is partly to find out, for you, for me, to be able to find out what God is calling us to be able to do, specifically for me. We all know the book, Purpose-Driven Life. Go and read it if that's what is important for you. But find out what God has called you for. And so God has got things that are there from long ago. There are lots of opportunities, loads. In fact, if I really were to say it, just open your eyes. Look around and see how many opportunities God has for us to do good things. To do good things. Sometimes no one's going to be able to see it. Sometimes it's going to cost us money. Sometimes it's going to cost us some time. But do what God has called you to be able to do. I have a list of just a couple ideas, suggestions of some of these good things that maybe, just maybe, God has put there for us. What does he mean when he refers to good things? Just be an aroma. 2 Corinthians. If we as Christians could walk around like when you drive through to Meancia and you smell that KFC, you die with that smell, I better just turn in here. It just makes that difference straight away. Can we just be that aroma? Salt and light, and we've heard so many messages about the salt and the light that is spoken about in Matthew. I don't know if you've ever been on the Mozambique trip. You're going to go there, and they make pap without any salt in there. I wish the last time I went there that I have salt in my pockets so that I can sprinkle a little bit of salt in my pap. Reconciliation in 2 Corinthians, that we can be seeing relationships restored between people and God, reconciliation. Spiritual gifts in 1 Corinthians, the fruit that we spoke about the last time that I was up here in Galatians. Can you imagine if we can just be a servant, come to serve others, serve others. Isaiah 61, to bring good news, comfort, freedom. You talk about things, good things that were ordained for us a long time ago. There's a couple things. When we come to talk about being created for a purpose, we've seen 4 people. Gideon, Elisha's servant David, and you. What is the Lord challenging you to do? Being the least, afraid, despised, or what else is it that you're placing on yourselves? Come back to being this little cloud and do just what God has told you to do. Created for a purpose. Let us pray together.